Being a great chef isn't just about cooking delicious food. Sometimes that's actually the easy part. One of the most important things we have to do when we're running restaurants is manage the budgets. One of the ways we do that is by using secondary cuts. They're packed full of flavor, much cheaper, and I think in the domestic kitchen are totally underrated. So today I'm gonna take one of those cuts, the humble lamb neck, and I'm gonna turn it into a delicious lamb porchetta. Don't come at me in the comments because it's not a traditional porchetta. I'm taking inspiration from the dish, and trust me, it's gonna be almost just as delicious. If not, maybe more. And before you click off this video because you're like, Andy, I don't like lamb, trust me, this is a great place to start. We're gonna slow cook it, it's gonna be packed full of flavor and absolutely delicious. And as well as showing you how to prepare the lamb, we're also gonna make some sides to go along with it to make a delicious dish that hopefully will bring lamb to your table some more. First up, we need to tackle these lamb necks, so let's get stuck in. So before we tackle our lamb necks, we're gonna make our little marinade to make sure that that's all ready to go. So once we've got our hands covered in lamb, we can just use that up. So I've got capers, small capers here. Just gonna run a knife through them. So all I've done is drain them from the brine and I rinse them under water quickly. If you don't rinse them, they might be a little bit salty. I've got about half a bunch of thyme here. Just gonna pick the leaves off this and run our knife through it also. Garlic. It's gonna be slow roasted for about 3 hours, so you can go pretty heavy on the garlic. It will sweeten up and go delicious. I'm gonna do 4 big cloves for these 2 lamb necks. Finally grate that straight in there. I got a couple of really nice big lemons. I've washed them. I'm just gonna zest the outside. When you're zesting citrus, make sure you don't zest it too deep. You just wanna take that top layer off. You don't wanna take the pith off because that's really bitter. So just like 1 or 2 strokes of a zester like that, and that's enough. If you see someone sitting there doing that, that's not gonna be very nice. Then we're gonna add a big pinch of cooking salt, pinch and a half, some olive oil to bring it all together. You don't need heaps of oil or heaps of fat in here. There should be enough fat in the lamb to keep it nice and moist. Just want enough that when you mix it, all nicely coated. Leave that to one side. Let's start tackling these lamb necks. So the lamb neck, as it says on the package, it's the neck of a lamb. It's quite a lot of meat in here through these like kind of 2 like cannons of meat down either side, less meat down the bottom part of the neck here. What we're gonna do is effectively run our blades down around here, around these vertebrae, and back in, and we should end up with a nice big flat piece. So, take your lamb neck, find where the bottom is. So the bottom will be where the vertebrae are the lowest part in the meat. You should have fleshy, kind of nice big meaty part at the top and the bottom. So lay it flat on its top, first of all. You want a boning knife, so something like this shape. You don't want it flexible, you want it pretty firm. Make sure it's sharp, that'll help. And you're gonna choose one of these sides that you're gonna go down first. Doesn't really matter what one. I'd start by just scoring down the center, like so. And then all you do is follow that set of bones around. So keep carefully running your knife along that bone. The tricky part with this is that you see here, this bone comes back up, right? So you need to come up and then quickly come back down. This is why thin blades are easier, because you can get back in underneath it. So keep following that around. You gotta also think about, right, this isn't like one piece of bone through here. There's 3 vertebrae here. The vertebrae will have less meat on than the connective parts in the middle. So don't stress too much. Just find those kind of things that are sticking out and cut around them. And just take your time. Keep working around, pulling the meat back. So the reason these things roast so nicely is there's so much connective tissue in here. It's not like fat that kind of renders and turns to liquid. Connective tissue will kind of break down. It's got a great mouthfeel. That's why you get really nice juicy meat when you slow cook it like that. It's because of the connective tissue. This is the body end. This is the head end. The end that's closer also has like a funny bone up the top that sticks out quite a bit. Just make sure you're kind of working around that. If you're kind of thinking, oh, I really want to make this dish, but kind of boning a lamb neck like that feels a bit intimidating, just take the whole lamb neck, make the same marinade, cover it in the marinade, and roast it the same way. You're gonna have to pull the meat off after. You're not gonna have like we're gonna be able to have really nice slices doing it this way. So you got 2 options here. We're right at the center. This is the top. We've taken this whole piece off. You can keep following that around this way, so just keep working, or you can start this way and work down. I tend to prefer to keep following it around. I think you kind of already started. You might as well keep following it around. So this is at the top of the star here. You can see there's a piece here that we actually will take out, this piece here, which is kind of a piece of sinew that won't break down very well. We'll deal with that after. So now we've gone right across the star. We need to come back in like that. So you're gonna go in and down. and then back around. So I've got most of that bone out. I've got a little bit left. I do want to flip it over and start working from this side. You can keep going that way, but I think you're going to lose a bit of this stuff. So it's easier to flip it over and work back through. There we go. That's the neck. You can roast it, make sauces and stocks out of it. So we've got this lovely piece of meat here. We need to go back through, make sure, just feel with your fingers, make sure you haven't left any pieces of bone. This piece here we talked about when we were going through it. We're just gonna run our knife down either side of it and remove it. We want to open this up a bit. I haven't done a great job down there, but you can see here we've got 2 pieces of meat and it's not quite, a really great shape for rolling. We're gonna kind of butterfly it, but butterfly it a bit differently. So what we wanna do, cut this meat through here halfway and fold it this way so that we end up with more of a square shape, if that makes sense. So find the center, there's a big kind of barrel of meat there, just run your knife down that and cut it back. You don't want to go through, you're going right through the middle here. Keep coming back, keep butterflying it open till you reach that kind of more squarish shape, if that makes sense. We do the same on the other side. All we're trying to do is open up to have more surface area for our marinade. There we go, a lovely piece of meat that's ready to go. Let's get this other one done and then we'll show you how to fill them and tie them together. So there's our 2 lamb necks. We're gonna evenly disperse our marinade filling. What one is it? Is it a marinade or a filling? I guess it's kind of both. Maybe I'm overthinking it. And get it all across those insides of that lamb. So the trick, you don't want too much of this too. If you have any more than this, it just squeezes out when you roll it. You kind of want to roll these reasonably tight. So butcher's twine. Mine handily fits on my paper towel roll dispenser, which means it works well. Take your piece of lamb, move this out of the way for now. Just roll it up. Start at one end and roll it up. Just like that. Take your string with your end, the cut end closest to you, pull it underneath your piece of meat, and then bring the other end over the top. You're gonna pinch them together, and then you're gonna go out underneath both of them, back over, and then through this loop here. Pull it tight so it creates a knot. Arrange your string so it's in the place that you want, and then pull the longer piece of string tight to get tension. Pull both pieces tight once you've got tension, and then put a safety knot in there as well. Just a normal tying your shoe knot. So I've got an oven tray here ready, and there's heaps of delicious oil that's come out when we're rolling them. So take them off and roll them in that oil, don't waste it. You don't want heaps of oil on the outside, doesn't need it, but you do want a little bit. It's gonna help get some browning. I'll just wash my hands and then we'll season them with salt. Cooking salt, 1 dirty hand, 1 clean hand. Make sure we get salt on all sides. So they're gonna go into a fan force oven at 160 degrees Celsius. I reckon they're gonna take 3 hours, but we'll start checking them after 2 hours and 15 minutes. So to go along with our lamb neck porchetta, we're gonna do like a really nice, simple pearl couscous. I'm gonna show you how to make that, it's delicious. I think it has a really good textural feel. We're gonna roast some carrots really hard with sumac. Then to bring it all together, real simple sauce. I guess you can call it a sauce. We're gonna do some yogurt. We're gonna season it really well with salt, cumin, mint, and a bit of lemon juice. So we'll make that first and we'll get that in the fridge to chill down. Super simple stuff. Greek yogurt. We got like a small bunch of mint here, washed mint. Just gonna pick the leaves off. We're gonna chiffonade. So chiffonade means kind of finely slice. Easiest way to do that with herbs, kind of bunch them together or roll them up like you're rolling a cigar. A little bit of a rolled a cigar. Sharp knife, we're gonna finely slice it. So now we've got all these nice, kind of very fine slices this way. I'm not gonna go too aggressive, pull those big pieces out. I'm just gonna run my knife back through it 5 times. And that goes. I got my lemon that I zested earlier. I'm just gonna add half of that one at the moment. The reason, we want the lemon flavor there, but we don't want too much lemon in there, lemon juice, because you'll let the yogurt down a bit much. So we'll start with that and we'll see how that goes. Ground cumin, about half a teaspoon. I love cumin. Pinch of salt, mix that all together. Have a taste. Bit more salt, bit more cumin. It's about the right consistency, but I think we can get a little bit more lemon juice in there before it gets too wet. Get that into a serving dish, and we're just gonna get that into the fridge for at least an hour or so, just to help it nice, kind of set up and make sure it's nice and cold. It also helps the oils from the mint come out, and that mint flavor will get like a lot stronger. Not a lot stronger, but a bit stronger. Carrots, I've got some, you can use big carrots here as well, doesn't really matter. I've got some kind of babyish ones. The top's taken off at the end and I've given them a wash. We can get those nice and dry. We're gonna flavor these with sumac. But we want to, because we're going to cook them in the oven at 160, the same temperature the lamb's cooking. We want to make sure we get lots of color on them before we put them in the oven. So I've got a pan here, I put it on the high heat, and we're actually going to use a lot of the fat that's come off the lamb already to cook these. If you haven't cooked the lamb yet and you don't have the lamb fat, you can just use olive oil or whatever. But we've got that lamb fat there, so let's put it to good use. Oh. So these have been in for an hour, but look at all that delicious lamb fat. Let's not let that go to waste. So we can baste our lamb necks first, and then we just want to cut up a big tablespoons into our pan. You're gonna turn the heat on high on this pan. Just be careful, right? Because this lamb fat's got a pretty high smoke point, but you got other stuff in there as well, apart from the lamb fat. You can see here you got some of the dripping, so some of the meat that's coming off the juices. So that might splatter and splutter. Get that as hot as you can, or until it starts splattering too much. I'm gonna get the carrots in there and the salt in there. Hot tip, put a lid over it, stop it from destroying your kitchen. Look at that. That would have gone on the kitchen counter. Now we're looking for really good hard char here. We want those flavors to develop, all that sweetness to come out of the carrots. So now we've got a decent amount of char here. They will keep going in the oven. I'm going to turn that pan off. I want the temperature of that pan to come down a little bit before we add our sumac. 160 degrees, and we'll check them after 15 minutes. Lovely. When they wiggle like that, they should be cooked pretty much to perfection. So we're definitely not ready to eat yet. We're just gonna let these chill out in this pan. They're not completely cooked yet. And then we can flash them to get them hot again right before we serve. The only other thing we need to make is our pearl couscous. So our couscous, so we're gonna do this pearl couscous, which is different to the finer couscous that you just pour hot water over and let it kind of steep. You actually have to cook this for a bit, but you cook it kind of similar to you cook rice, except you're gonna toast it first. So I've got a pot that I've got the lid for. I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Let that heat up a little bit. You don't want it ripping hot. Ripping hot, it's a weird thing to say. Once it's got some heat in it, add 300 grams of couscous, pearl couscous. Stir it straight away to make sure that the oil is kind of evenly distributed across all the couscous. And we're going to toast this until it's nice and golden brown. You can do it a couple of ways. You can do it really slowly, and then you don't need to pay as much attention to it. Or you can kind of do, like I like to do, is just crank it and just make sure you're kind of turning it and moving it the whole time. So now we've got some color. On the outside, I got just over 620 mils of chicken stock. In that goes, give it a stir. Little pinch of salt, bring it to a light simmer. Once it's simmering, I'm gonna put the lid on it, turn it right down low. I'm gonna cook it like we would rice. It's probably gonna take about 15 to 20 minutes till all that water's evaporated. We're gonna check our lamb, because they're a bit smaller than I expected, and it's been about 2 hours and 20 minutes, and I reckon they're pretty much done. They look good. Fat's really nicely rendered, they're holding together. Just gonna give them a baste in their own fat again quickly, and then we're gonna rest them. Definitely keep this lamb fat too. Put it in a glass jar, let it cool down, put it in the fridge, use it for cooking. If you want to roast some potatoes in it, cook your steaks in it. See that? Put that on a piece of bread. Flavor Town. Flavor Town. I love that guy, he's hilarious. Look at that, look at the color. So we're gonna rest those for a good 20 minutes. We can pop them back in the oven if we need them to be a bit hotter. We're gonna rest them for 20 minutes before we carve them and serve them. Turn the heat off our couscous. Just gonna fluff it up, make sure it hasn't stuck to the bottom. I think that's pretty much cooked. Let's have a taste. Oh yeah, this needs a bit more salt. We want to leave that lid off now, just to let it dry out a little bit. Also gonna add a squeeze of lemon juice. Stunning. Lamb's resting, carrots are ready to go. Our couscous is just gonna kind of aerate a little bit. Then we can carve up, get our yogurt ready, and start serving. Time to plate. Let's carve this lamb first. It's been resting for a while. Cut the butcher string off. It's also be a great way to do Sunday roast. Have some slices. Oh, yum. End bit's always for the chef. Let's have a taste. It's great. It's not too salty. You know, the outside's got a great amount of kind of caramelization. Kind of the wrong word, but makes sense. It's kind of like, it's almost sticky, which is amazing. The flavor of that capers and that thyme and garlic, and it penetrates really well and kind of cuts through the kind of gaminess that lamb can sometimes have. Start with our pearl couscous on the bottom. Some of our sumac carrots. And our lamb neck. A little bit of olive oil. Finally, our mint and cumin yogurt. So there you go. Our boned and rolled lamb neck filled with capers, lemon, thyme, slowly roasted and served with pearl couscous and some sumac carrots. Delicious. Let's see what it tastes like all together. All right, let's get a bit of everything here. Dip it in the yogurt. It's a delicious dish. By no means did I invent these flavor combinations. You know, sumac, lovely and citrusy, you know, a little bit of cumin coming through in that yogurt, capers and lemon in the lamb, but it works so well because of that lovely rich lamb, and then the sweetness of the carrots, the couscous kind of bringing it all together, and some of that yogurt just to round it all out. That's a delicious dish, and way cheaper than if you're gonna get a lamb shoulder or a lamb leg. A little bit more work, but honestly, the meat's actually probably a better flavor. Hope I've inspired you to try something different for once at home. Spend a bit of time using one of these secondary cuts because the payoff is worth it. Thank you, legends, so much for watching. Like this video if you took anything from it, and we'll see you next week for another recipe. Peace.